All right, YouTube. Thanks for hanging out with us this evening. Little change in plans. We were planning to have Atlanta 26 as net control this evening, and there would have been no live stream. But something happened last night, this morning. It was this morning. Something happened this morning, and it upended the world of GMRS. We thought we had major problems at Sassafras. It turns out they're problems, but they're survivable problems. And but many of us have experienced other hardships, such as power off or internet down or combinations of both. Of course, if your power is off, your internet's probably going to go down pretty soon. So with that in mind, Atlanta 26 is out of power. So hopefully he gets restored without too much delay. But because he's out of power and he doesn't have a backup power plan, he's not able to run the net tonight. So you're stuck with me. And, well, I'm not sure if Clarence is going to let me have a net tonight. But if they do clear off in time for me to start the net at 7:30, then that's what we'll do. And if they're still busy yakking, I'm going to let them go. I don't see any reason why they can't use the radio. That's what it's here for. So we're not going to interfere with that QSO if it comes to that. Stand by one moment here. I've got a sneeze developing, and I don't have anything queued up for the video. Oh yeah, I can put you. How about? Yeah, you can look at the log. Stand by one moment. All right, I may have saved you from a sneeze. I may have simply postponed the inevitable. I haven't had a chance to finish my supper, so I'm going to set it right there to remind me that I haven't had a chance to finish my supper. And all right, we're 30 seconds from time, and they're still going at it. So we're just going to fade audio in on them and wait for them to clear up. So stand by. I got to go all the way over here to fade that audio in.
He'll pay up to $3,000 for a 3 to 4 foot diameter knob on any red or white oak. So you know what I'm talking about, the growth.
All right.
You know, on the it's kind of like a cyst that trees get, and the grain and the lining's beautiful in it. So he pays top dollar for that. But yeah, for sure, firewood should be free, especially that red oak. That burns really nice. I got a buck stove. We heat our main floor with a buck stove. It has a convection blower on it, you know, so that helps cut down some of the heating bills. Especially I'm all electric in my house, so my generator's been running 445, but I've only used about 3.5 gallons of propane. But I got a 27 kilowatt, so I got a big boy. But I'm not running no heat or AC, just my well pump and lights and TV. So,
and refrigerators. You've got to have refrigerators on that generator.
We got rocked up here pretty bad. I'll go ahead and back out here. I know they're getting ready to have a net here soon, so you have yourself the rest of a good week. This is Atlanta 438, WHW612. I'll be clear.
Yeah, I got my generator going now, and it's a 10,000 watt generator, and I'm only using about 750 of it. So I've got it wired into my breaker box where I can have it all over the house, not just certain particular places where receptacles that some people wire into. But mine's all over the house. I can run anything I want to anytime I get it. I can't run all the 220s at one time. I can run my well pump and maybe a hot water heater. But if I want to run my electric stove, I had to cut something off. If I run my dryer downstairs, I had to cut something off. I can't do that. Okay, all right, we'll talk to you later. You sounded great. Hope everything's fine. Be well. Take care. WQVG 20.
All right. I think they're all done, so let's go ahead and kick this thing in gear. Where's my script? There it is. All right, here we go. Good evening, and welcome to this special edition of the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight, I'll be working off of the Pine Log repeater, but we are linked in with the following repeaters: Sassafras, thank you, Gary, Crawford, Jersey, Lookout Mountain, Somerville, Madison. Ball Ground is in trouble tonight. Power is off at that location, so we're not going to be linked in there. But we are linked in with McDonough, Columbus, Noonan, Moreland, and Zebulon. Let me break. Tonight our RF coverage is approximately 31,000 square miles. This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I'd like to thank everyone who has made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. And let me break. Net control tonight was supposed to be somebody else, but due to effects from the storm and power issues, Flip is unavailable for the net this evening, and but we're going to hope for the best for swift recovery for him and everyone else that has power and internet and tree issues as a result of this storm. Hopefully we don't have any injuries throughout the North Georgia GMRS family, and whatever damage can be mitigated and repaired rapidly. Your net control tonight is Atlanta 946 WQIR 514. My name is Justin, and I'm located at Studio B. On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we'd like to hear. We have a special topic for this evening, and we are anxious to hear from the North Georgia GMRS youth. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved. Once the floor is open, it is permissible to address other members of the net by their name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in and when you sign out of the net. When signing in, please speak slowly and clearly as you give your tactical unit number, your name, your call sign, and your location. Parents, if the kids need help with their check-ins, please feel free to assist them with a call sign. And if they don't have a tactical identification number, that's fine. Just give us yours, and we'll work off of that this evening. So with that in mind, at this time, I'll take check-ins. At this time, I'm going to take youth check-ins only so that we can hear any of the youth that are going to participate this evening and get them back off of the air in time for bed. So without any further delay, do we have any youth check-ins? Anyone 18 and under wishing to check into the North Georgia GMRS network from any repeater? Please call net control now. Crickets. I hear crickets.
This is Atlanta 136, WRCR 229. A youth member located in Tucker, Georgia, but I won't be going to bed early.
All right, Aiden. Well, thank you for that. Do we have any other youth check-ins? Anyone wishing to participate in the SpookNet? I would love to hear some scary stories from any of our North Georgia GMRS youth. Please call net control now. Okay, looks like our youth check-ins are a bust. Aiden is checked in as a youth member, and he's the only one, so we're going to put him right there in the top spot this evening. But I'm going to go ahead and resume with a regular check-in process like we would do on any other net. And since we don't have any youth to get to bed early, we'll just forego that part. So Do we have any VoIP check-ins? Anyone wishing to check in from VoIP services, please call Net Control now.
This is Noonan 35, Walter Jr., WRCT 290, mobile near Alpharetta.
Net Control acknowledging Noonan 35, Walter Jr. checking in mobile from Alpharetta. It's great to hear from you tonight. Looking forward to hearing a scary story from your past relevant to Halloween. With that, I'm going to go ahead and ask for any visiting transient licensed GMRS operators or new members of the North Georgia GMRS network. This is anyone who is a licensed GMRS operator who is not a member, or anyone who would like to check in, or any new members as well as youth. Please call Net Control now.
WRFB 870 3W23.
Last station, I didn't get your call sign. Can you come back with that again, please? And your name and location, please. All right. Did anybody get a better copy on that? I was only able to read bits and pieces of it. If anybody can relay, please bring that back. Alexa, pause playback.
Justin, I think I heard 7-0 in there, and I think he said Mapleton, Georgia, maybe, and that's all I can copy down here is McDonough 22.
All right, Tim, I've got that. I heard a WR and a 7-0. I did not hear Mapleton. I think this is a guest check-in, and I would love for you to get in here. So if you could try it one more time, and come back with your call sign and your first name, please. All right. Well, we've got an entry in the log for WR70 without a name from Mapleton, and we'll just leave it at that. We've got this this individual's checked in and out. Thank you for trying to check in with us tonight. We hope that you can get to a better location and check in with us again next week. Maybe somebody with better ears will be listening and can make out your call sign or your tactical unit number if you have one. Do we have any other guests or visitors or youth members would like to check in? Please call Net Control now.
Net Control, this is Atlanta 123. I think I may have had a copy on that last person.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Let's see what you got.
I thought I heard CW23, and based on the bits and pieces of the call sign, his call sign is WRFB870. W Romeo Foxtrot Bravo, Bravo 870. And in the log on the website it says Nicholson, Georgia. But like I say, CW23 is what I caught. Over.
CW23, that sounds like that may have been part of that call. So, and I see that was Mr. Curtis White from Nicholson. So that's what we'll put in the log. Thank you, Curtis, for that check-in. And if that is incorrect, please, at some point, let us know, and we'll make the correction. But for now, that's what we're going to put in the log. CW23, Curtis from Nicholson. Thank you, Curtis. Any other visitors or guest check-ins before we move on to Pine Log?
This is 253 WQND 274 late check-in on Zello.
Okay, I've got Atlanta 253, Donald from Blairsville in the log. At this time, let me go ahead and open it up to Pine Log check-ins. Anyone wishing to check in from the Pine Log repeater, please call net control now.
948, call 430, get in Wichita. Take me in and out, just.
This is Atlanta 780 WQUV 439 Houston, and Austell got power about 20 minutes ago.
This is 438, Garrett in Monument Falls, Georgia. Also for relay checking in Atlanta 439, Lisandra in Genesis, Atlanta 440 for relay. Good evening to all.
This is Atlanta 245 WRCN 369. David in Delaware, Georgia.
This is Atlanta 275 WREB 972 Ken in Canton. Please check me in and out, Justin.
Okay, let me go ahead and acknowledge what we have so far. I have Atlanta 948. Gary in Woodstock. Gary is in and out with us tonight. Thank you, Gary, for checking in with us. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 780, Houston in Austell. Houston, I'm glad to hear the power is on. So great news. Next on my list is Atlanta 438, Garrett in Monument Falls. Let me break. I need to cough. Sorry about that. And also by relay from Garrett, I have Atlanta 439, Lysandra. In Atlanta 440, Genesis. Also all of the above of Monument Falls. Next on my list, I think I heard Atlanta 345, David in Dahlonega. Come back and let me know if that is incorrect. But that's what I have in a log at this point. So hopefully that's correct. Here comes another cough. Atlanta 275, Ken in Canton. I have you as in and out. Thank you, Ken, for checking in with us tonight. At this time, do we have any additional Pine Log check-ins while I take a break and cough some more?
Next control, that call sign was Atlanta 245 WR
David and Delano.
Okay, I have Atlanta 245, David in Dahlonega. You started off real strong, and the longer that you were keyed, the more noise washed in with your signal. But I believe that was what we have is Atlanta 245, David in Dahlonega. So thank you for checking in with us. Hopefully when it's time for your scary story or your comments, you'll be able to get to a little better spot, and we can read you better. So keep that in mind when we call on you here in a little bit. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to any repeater anywhere. Anyone wishing to check into the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net, please call Net Control now.
3WQYU 896, call in and out.
This is McDonough 22, WRCR 952, Tim in Stockbridge checking into the net. Good evening, everyone.
WRAT 241, Atlanta 403, checking in. From White County, Bobby.
Okay, so this is a little bit scary. Our 13th check-in, right after 275 Ken in Kenton, all I heard was in and out. I heard bits and pieces of a call sign, but I did not hear a name or a location. So I would love to have an entry in a log for our 13th check-in. So if you would please bring that back. But before we do, I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge McDonough 22 Tim in Stockbridge. I've got you in here, Tim. Looking forward to talking to you. And Mr. Scary himself, Atlanta 403, Bobby from White County is in the log. Thank you, Bobby, for checking in. We're looking forward to talking with you here in just a little bit. So the first check-in for any repeater anywhere, if you would please come back with that. I'd like to try to get you in the log.
50 WQYU 896, Paul in Jefferson.
Okay, I heard 50, Paul in Jefferson. So I think I may have missed the very beginning of that. Remember, with the repeater network, it takes just a moment for all of the mechanics to click into place and become functional. So you have to kind of give it just a little bit of time there to get everything synced up. Otherwise, the very first of your comments get cut off, as happened here. And I'm looking through our various pages on our membership thing to see if I can find a Paul at the 50 position. So I think I've probably missed more than just the part of that. So if you could come back with your tactical unit number, Paul, and remember to key the mic for just one moment before you begin.
Atlanta 503.
503. Atlanta 503. So I missed the other part of it. So, all right. Well, forget everything I said. Maybe I just wasn't listening. But thank you for checking in with us, Paul. Looking forward to hearing. Oh, you checked in and out. So we're not going to hear your comments, but thank you anyway. Hope you stick around. And if at some point you do wish to jump in here, feel free to do that. Would love to have your comments. One more call for any repeater anywhere. North Georgia GMRS Network. Please call net control now.
This is WREC 529, Chattanooga 58, Bill in Chattanooga, in and out.
RCG 798, it's Channel 55, this is Doug. Check me in and out, please.
Okay, net control acknowledging our 2 Chattanooga check-ins. We have Chat 58 Bill in Chattanooga and Chat 55 Doug in Chattanooga. Thank you guys for checking in with us this evening. I've got you both in and out on the log, so hope you'll stick around and feel free to chime in if the urge should hit. Okay, so I think we'll go ahead with this. We got a pretty good start. And I never did hit the button to show any of those folks on YouTube what we're doing here. So I'm going to do that now. And we'll go to the top of the list and see if Atlanta 136 has a SpookNet Tale of Fright he would like to share.
Good evening, Justin, and good evening to the rest of the net. Before I'd like to start here, I want to say hope everyone's doing safe out there with the tropical depression that hit us over here. I know that I did not have power early morning for about maybe 30 minutes. Then it kind of subsided, so got back power and everything's all working pretty well. Charged up some batteries and hope for the best. And it was only maybe 45 to 50 mile per hour winds, not too bad. Nothing got blown away, but not really talking about that tonight. Talking about a spooky, scary story, I guess. I think that was when I was a little younger. I would have to say maybe 8, 9. My mom kind of actually pranked me a little bit. So she went to this website. It's called like the Scary Maze Game or something. It was extremely hilarious now, but back then it was pretty frightening. So you know, like The Exorcist and like the I think I watched the movie like once, but the crazy girl guy, I forgot, but so you have to complete this maze, right? You go through the thing, and at the end of it, it's like a very small sliver to get to the end of the maze. And once you get to the finish line, it kind of jump scares you. And it's hilarious now, but at the time it was pretty frightening. But that's kind of my scary story. Halloween, probably just gonna stay home, not go out, and that's about it. But anyway, back to net control.
Ah, yes. I think I recall seeing that game or some version there of it. And, yeah, you certainly don't expect that character to jump out at you like that. And it surprises you, and it's a frightening thing. And it's funny that you would say that, because just today I was looking at a thing on Facebook, and somebody had captured a spider on the wall with a jar. And then they slipped a piece of paper underneath the mouth of the jar and very carefully moved the spider outside and released the spider in the garden and or in the flower bed or whatever it was. I don't even know. But they released the spider, and the spider begins to walk away, and then this CGI thing just kind of leaps from where the spider's at right at you, and it looks like the spider's jumped out of the screen, and it couldn't help but jump. It was a complete surprise. I was thinking, oh, what a cool thing, because I'm the same way. When I don't like to kill spiders because I know that they can be very beneficial. I don't like them in the house, and so I'll make an effort to get a spider out of the house whenever I find them inside. So, something I can relate to. But great story. Thank you for sharing that with us, Hayden. Next on my list, I have Noonan 35 Walter Jr. Traveling about in Alpharetta. Walter, do you have a story to share? I think Walter may have been.
Hey, Justin, this is
Yes,
35. It's not quite Halloween, but the scariest story that I can think of that was probably family safe happened when I was about 8 or 9 years old. We went to go visit my cousin who lives in Hawaii, and it was right around the time that the movie The Mummy was in theaters, and he thought it would be a great family outing. He heard that it was supposed to be a good film, it was hilarious, it was not at all a problem for family. So my 8-year-old self and my then 4-year-old sister went, and the first time something jumped out, we screamed and ran out of the theater. Spent about 20 minutes in the lobby. We'd walk back into the theater for another 5 minutes. Something else would pop out, and we ended up screaming and running 4 or 5 times. It was definitely a Halloween-worthy movie. So, back to you. Hope you guys are staying safe. This is Noonan 35, WRCT 290.
Oh, that's funny. I can just envision that too. Something that we think is moderately frightening can be very frightening to children. So, I remember when I was a kid. I'm gonna say probably in the 8, 9 year old range. I don't really know for sure how old I was, but I wanted to go see the movie Jaws because all my friends were going, and I had an opportunity to go. We lived way out in the county, so trips into town were, it was kind of cool to be able to catch a ride with somebody because otherwise, might not go for a week or more. So to be able to catch a ride into town to go see a movie was a pretty special thing. And they were all going to see Jaws, but I was barred from seeing the movie because I wasn't old enough. Might have been a good thing, but great story. I'm just visualizing a couple of small children screaming and running on down the aisle to the lobby. That would definitely have made my day. Next on my list, I have WRFB 870. This is CW23, Curtis in Nicholson. Curtis, I have you in the log as in and out. Thank you for checking in with us this evening. And I will move on now to Atlanta, 253, Donald in Blairsville. Donald, do you have a frightening tale that you wish to tell this evening?
Good evening, Justin, and good evening to the rest of the net. I went to a haunted house once, a haunted barn one Halloween, and we took a youth trip to the Halloween, and a bunch of them got scared, and they all hung on me.
Fantastic. Yes, we've gone to a couple of those haunted houses. The Boy Scouts in Fort Wayne had a property that was an old, abandoned, run-down church, and they used that for a haunted house for maybe 10 or 15 years. They actually spent a lot of money refurbishing some of the interior of that church because at one point the city or the county had come in and condemned the building because it was structurally unsound. So they spent money shoring up rafters and putting structure back into it to make it safe to continue using it for Halloween, and used it for several years after that. But the building finally got to the place where it was no longer safe, no matter what you did. So that was the end of it. But what a great time that was, and they did a great job. A tremendous amount of effort went in to making the mazes and the scenes and the characters, and the volunteer hours to make that thing happen was just amazing. But it was a great fundraiser for the Boy Scouts, and it turned into such a great fundraiser that they priced themselves out of my market, and that's why we quit going, because it as entertaining as it was, it just was more expensive year by year, and so we stopped going. And that's what we found with a lot of the haunted houses around here is very expensive. So we haven't gone for ages. But great story, Donald, and you were the hero, saving everybody from the frights of the haunted house. Fantastic. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 948, Gary in Woodstock. Gary is in and out with us this evening. Thank you, Gary, for checking in. And next on my list, I have Atlanta 780, Houston in Austell. Houston, do you have a scary Halloween story you'd like to share?
Hi, good evening, Justin. Good evening to the rest of the net. Well, not really. I was telling my wife about one that my brother and one of his friends that was, that's 5 or 6 years older than I was, carried me to a place, and they pushed me down and run off, and it was one of them haunted house things, but I remember it being in part of a tent. Anyhow, I crawled out from under it and got out the back door, and I went home, and that was one of the worst Halloweens my brother ever had.
The worst Halloween your brother ever had. Okay. All right. I'm going to let my imagination play that scene out, and I could just imagine. So, an old abandoned house of some sort, and they pushed you down underneath a tent in the middle of it and took off. That does sound like a great time. I would very much have engaged in something much like that if I'd had the opportunity, but I don't have such a good story, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. Well, thank you for that, Houston, and glad to hear that the power is on. Everything else okay over there? Did you have any damage from this storm?
I know, sir. Everything looks fine. Didn't lose any trees in the backyard. There may be a limb or two fell, but all my antennas stayed up. And I just got a little bit of water in the basement. But, yeah, we was out of power from about 4:15 this morning till, I guess it was about 7:20 or 7:25 when it come back on this afternoon. We had the generator running, so we weren't in too bad a shape. Had fans going. Won't run the air conditioner, but we stayed cool enough.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, it got a little stuffy this afternoon. It feels real nice. I've got a nice cool breeze coming in from the window beside me. So that's really refreshing as compared to what it felt like in here this afternoon. So, but glad to hear that everything fared well and that the power is back on, and hopefully only a little water in the basement and no harm from that. So glad to hear of all that, and look forward to hearing more of the Houston and Mona adventures as we go. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and move on to Atlanta 438. Garrett in Monument Falls. Garrett had some adventure today. But before we get into that, I want to ask Garrett if he has a scary story.
Yeah, Roger that, Justin. I can clearly remember, probably in the early to mid-'80s, we had a babysitter over, and it was Halloween, and I remember my parents had went out for that evening. I believe they went to a party. Well, it just so happened our babysitter, whose name was Cheryl, she decided it would be fun to watch Friday the 13th.
Fantastic.
To show my brother and I. And I was probably 6 or 7 then. And, of course, how ironic, we lived on the lake.
Oh, great.
So that night I didn't sleep at all, and I think the next following 2 or 3 nights after that, I had trouble sleeping. So I can say, honestly, of course, I love horror movies now. My oldest and I, we always watch scary stuff together. But I can honestly say that was very traumatizing and scary.
At that age, I'm sure that it would be. That's fantastic. What a cool babysitter. Yeah. I didn't have much in the way of babysitters when I was a kid. I grew up on a farm, and you know, I pretty much got dragged around wherever mom and dad went. I had to go too, whether I wanted to or not. It was kind of like get in the car, shut up, sit down, and be good when we're there. And so I don't recall really ever having an opportunity to hang out with a babysitter, especially one that would show me a scary movie. That would have been fantastic. Well, let me ask you: do Lysandra and Genesis have stories they'd like to share?
Genesis is in her cave. She retreated for the night. Sandra is on a long distance phone call, but I could probably, I don't know. I'm sure if you ask her the scariest story, she grew up in, she has that sixth sense ability, that third eye type deal, so she sees ghosts, interacts. Of course, I don't ever, but I wish. I'm the type of guy that I have to see it to believe it. They need to come and shake my hand. But she's probably traumatized in that with stuff that she allegedly says that she has seen throughout her childhood. I think she lived in a slave house in Queens and Flushing. So according to her, the story goes, and I'll tell it as I remember it. I know that they lived. There was a young girl who was, I guess, had late 1800s, early 1900s attire, and she would come in and play jacks at night on their floor. So, of course, this is according to her, but I don't know whether that's directly related to Halloween or not. But she also had a very bizarre childhood when it comes to that Sixth Sense stuff there over.
Well, I could imagine just the sound of, the jacks being scattered on the floor and the ball bouncing in the wee hours of the night, whether you had the ability to see that sort of thing or not, but to hear that, that kind of a sequence of sounds could become pretty terrifying. So that's fascinating stuff. Yeah, I don't have any of those abilities to see things that aren't obvious. Sometimes I don't see things that are obvious. Ask 947 about me looking for my keys. So so I've kind of missed the boat on that. But tell me about what other adventures you had today. I've heard bits and pieces throughout the day, and we know about our sassafras repeater, but you can go ahead and tell that story because there may be several on the net that have not heard of any of that. So go ahead and talk about some of your adventures today.
That, also to add a little undertone or nuance to your, with 947, also, us men, we have a tendency of not having that other perception there when they're angry. So I can definitely empathize with you there on that. But yeah, no, I woke up this morning to a loud crashing sound. It was around 4:20, 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like, okay, well, the storm's coming. I got up, brewed the coffee. My windows were caving in and out. I have, the Anderson double pane, so I wasn't that worried about the actual integrity of my windows. But hearing a lot of banging and everything else, and as the morning got progressively worse, my generator kicked on, and I started seeing debris flying out everywhere. After it all ended, I was supposed to go have stitches removed this morning, and the fire chief up here for Fire Station 10 in Pickens County called me and says, hey, you need to get a hold of your radio buddy there. And I tried calling the old site manager, and I guess they didn't. The previous owners had sold it to another of the on-site or in-site towers, so they didn't have the new POC. I'm going to go ahead and break. So anyhow, I commenced to try calling you. Well, I'd spoken with you early in the morning. I just wanted to make sure if everybody was okay, or obviously it was a storm after I seen the limbs and destruction it caused up here. And by the way, I recorded 94.5 mile an hour wind.
Oh,
That was
man.
the strongest gust we got up here around 5:15 this morning, but our sustained winds were anywhere from 68 to 77 mile an hour.
Wow.
Sharp Top Mountain was actually steady at 70 to 74 miles an hour for about 2.5 hours. So at any rate, I heard Tim, and I radioed Tim, Atlanta 123. I'm like, hey, you need to get a hold of Justin or Gary, because I tried calling them on the radio, and nobody's picking up. Kind of like, ELL telephone, kind of that type of rendition. And anyhow, so we got over there, and my fire chief called me. He's like, the roof is blowing off of the tower site. I'm like, well, what do you mean the roof's blowing off? He said, well, I mean, it's part of it's in the tower, part of it's on the ground, and part of it's behind the tower. So I finally made contact with Mr. Gary there, and I went up and assessed the form, and literally the roof, which was a metal roof, and I didn't realize there was a concrete underneath the bunker, but it literally looked like just a tornado or something just ripped at that metal roof completely off the tower site where Sassafras is. And at that point, I went and drove up to Eagles Rest Park to kind of snoop around. I'll go ahead and break real quick. And then I was driving back, and I saw our fire chief Jeep was at the fire station, so I pulled up, and I saw a motorcycle there. And, of course, our fire chief is a Vietnam veteran. He's a Marine. He was an infantry gruntman, and he was promoted to be a warrant officer. He flew Hueys for 3 tours in Vietnam, post his infantry service in the Marines as being a grunt. So our fire chief caught the people stealing copper a couple of years ago, but that's another story for another time. He held him at gunpoint for a while, but he was unsure who Tim was. So Tim had relayed them, hey, I know Gary. And he's like, okay, yeah, you know Gary. Oh, I know Garrett too. Okay, Garrett. We mean Garrett. Hey, let's reach down the road, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all right. Put him a little bit more ease. So I got to meet Mr. Tim today, and I told and relayed and reaffirmed to Tim that John was not to worry about, this disgruntled Vietnam veteran and doesn't trust anybody, and I'm kind of the same way as well too. So I think it was really cool, that this type of situation brought us together, and we were able to communicate, because I was unable to get to Sassafras at all via my mobile or my handheld, but I was able to reach Pine Log. So this goes back to why we, need to communicate, why we need to have emergency communications. My generator is still running. It's been running for about 14 hours now, and it is the importance of being able to communicate and having a community of like-minded individuals, regardless of your religious or political beliefs, that, hey, we need to communicate and we need to strategize, and it definitely set a precedent today of why we need emergency communications besides our cellular or landline. With that being said,
all right, I think you timed out there with that being said. So do you want to pick that up and continue?
Hey, I hope I gave a somewhat accurate description of the event today, but again, I just wanted to emphasize the importance of having emergency comms and why we should all be proactive, and there being GMRS or ham operators or even MERS. MERS is phenomenal for me up here at this elevation. With that being said, Justin, I'll go ahead and don't want to chew up and
All right. Well, lots of excitement today on the hill there at Monument Falls. So thank you for that. And yes, we did have an issue with our site there for the Sassafras repeater. Our equipment is fine and remained operational throughout all of that. But there was a supplemental or an additional roof on top of the structure that apparently the wind picked up and removed. However, the structure itself is is just fine. They will make repairs to the roof as needed, but as it is right now, there's no danger to our equipment or the other equipment that's housed within. So that's good news. But yeah, that's kind of a scary thing. The way the photographs that I saw showed that debris, part of it wrapped around the tower and part of it off behind the fence there, and that stuff flying through the air can be dangerous. That can do damage. So that's one of the things I was worried about around here was something blowing from somebody else's place and doing damage here. But we didn't have any issues here. So that's good stuff. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 245, David in Dahlonega. David, hopefully you're at a better position, and we can copy you well, and you can tell us if you have any frightening stories related to Halloween.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, I'm here. Don't know if you can hear me any better.
That works.
I'll just take a break, and you let me know if it sounds okay there.
Yeah, if you keep speaking nice and loud into that microphone like you're doing, I think your signal will come in over the noise, and we'll be able to make you out.
Okay, I appreciate that. I don't really see scary stories. Yeah, I was driving down the road one day, and a Bigfoot come running across riding a unicorn, carrying 2 chupacabras, one under each arm. Scared the living daylights out of me. That's all I have for tonight. Back to you, Net Control.
Well, fantastic. Bigfoot on a unicorn. And did you say he was carrying, what was it that he was carrying? Come back with that one.
He was carrying 2 chupacabras, one under each arm.
Chupacabra is what I heard, and I'm trying to think of what that is. Is that the is that the boogeyman?
Yeah, I think it's that monster from down there in the south of the border somewhere. I can't think of it. I just think that was a good story.
Fantastic. Well, I guess while you're out driving about at Halloween time, you have to be on the lookout for Bigfoot riding a unicorn and things that he may be carrying about. So great stuff, David. Thank you for checking in, and thanks for hanging out. Appreciate your comments. How about your part of the woods there? Did you have any storm-related damage or issues?
Yes, we had, the power was out for about 8 hours, and we were on battery backup for a little while, then I had to start the generators. But everything settled back in. I was back on some commercial power, and things were shaking up. I did have a tree down, but it fell right down the property line in a nice spot. Didn't hurt anything, but it's a big tree. Other than that, just little leaves, minor stuff. We're looking good out here.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, we cleaned the property up over the weekend, and you sure couldn't tell it this afternoon. But I've gone through and I've made some effort at removing some of the leaves, at least the ones that were on the driveway. And typically when we do that kind of work, we'll rake the leaves onto a plastic tarp and then drag that back to a place in the back of the property where we burn them. And so we move a pretty substantial amount of leaves on a plastic tarp like that. And I took 2 loads of leaves and broken sticks and twigs and limbs and that sort of thing. Nothing bigger than, I think the biggest limb was maybe, probably less than an inch around. So nothing big, just all little stuff, but a lot of it. And yeah, that was the most significant thing around here. I have a wooden gate on the end of my deck that broke off of the post. The screws for the hinge are still screwed into pieces of wood from the post, but the whole thing is laying on the ground. So it just ripped. That gate must not have been latched, and the wind must have just ripped it right off of the post. So I've got that to fix this weekend. That shouldn't be a big deal. So, all right, David. Well, thanks again for checking in with us this evening. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 275, Ken in Canton. Ken is in and out with us this evening. And I also have Atlanta 503, Paul in Jefferson. Paul is in and out with us this evening. And that brings me next to McDonough 22, Tim in Stockbridge. Tim, do you have tales of fright and terror to tell this evening?
No, I don't know about fright and terror. I think we were pretty frightened at the time. My story goes back to, I was approximately 17 years old, and I can't remember if this was actually on Halloween or near Halloween. It was somewhere in the vicinity. One of my friends had gotten a new Dodge Charger, and him and me and a couple other guys and gals, we were just out riding down I-75 southbound, and I don't remember what exit we got off of. It was way down off of South 75 somewhere, I don't know. And one of the guys was talking about a mountain down there that you drive up it. If you stay it till it gets dark, you can't find your way back down. So naturally, we wanted to try that out and see what happened. So we found the mountain, and we found the road up it, and we drove, I don't know, about halfway up the mountain. It was all dirt roads and trees and almost like goat paths going through there. But we rode up there in that new Dodge Charger, and we found us a little spot that looked like a camping spot, and we stopped there, and we did things that teenagers do for a couple of hours, you know, and it started getting dark, and somebody says, hey, we better get out of here. And so we started packing up. I mean, it got dark faster than anything I've ever seen in my life. And we drove around. We drove through paths for about 30 minutes, it seemed like. And everything looked different until we'd always arrive back at the same place we started.
Yeah.
And then we finally we left one more time trying to get out of there. And an old guy in a real old Buick pulled up in front of us from some other trail and just waved his arm. And we followed him, and he led us down to the bottom of the base of the mountain. And so I guess that was one story that was true. You go up that mountain, you don't get back down unless the guy comes and leads you out. And who that was, we'll never know.
He wasn't riding a unicorn, was he?
Didn't see no unicorn. It might have been a Bigfoot up in there somewhere, though. I don't know. But I don't know if that commercial on TV is correct. Bigfoot's real name is actually Daryl, you know.
I did not know that. Hey, Tim, I heard somebody call out for net control while you were there. So let's see if somebody has some emergency traffic. Go ahead. Station it called for net control. Go ahead.
If you'll go ahead and check me out of the net, Justin, thank you.
Okay, Donald. All right, I got you logged out of the net. All right, Tim. I'm sorry about that. I can't relate to anything like that. Of course, where I'm from, there are no mountains. Atlanta 948 followed us up to Indiana one time. We went up there to visit family and stuff for the holidays, and a couple days later, he had ventured his way up there, and I asked him, what was your impression of Indiana? What do you think of this place? And he says, it sure is flat. So, a long time ago, there were these big old glaciers that came through a significant portion of the U.S., and they just bulldozed that whole region completely flat. And that part that I lived in was an ancient lake bed. So it has very, very rich, fertile soil, great farmland, but it's flat. So there aren't many mountains to get lost on there. But one of the things that we enjoyed doing was parking with the girls in the backs of cornfields. That's about the best we could do. So But I think a mountain would have been much, much cooler. Thank you for that, Tim. Appreciate your comments this evening, and you'll have to be on the lookout for Bigfoot. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 403. Bobby in White County. Bobby, do you have any tales of terror you would like to share?
Well, my biggest tale of terror is tonight I had to go back on Zello because I can't hear my log anymore. But anyway, my story was something we did on Halloween night, but the terror didn't start till the next day. It involved the usual drinking, a homemade hot air balloon, and some restricted military airspace. And we flew our balloon out of the woods, the sand pits that we used to four-wheel in, and wouldn't you know, the wind blew it right over the Stony Point area, and then it blew right over West Point Military Academy. Well, we didn't think much of it till the next day. The balloon made it to the news. And they had scrambled F-15s or F-16s out of somewhere to go look for this thing because people could see it, but it wouldn't show up on anybody's radar. And we all thought the next day that the feds were going to come knocking at our doors. That was nothing but sheer terror for a couple of days past Halloween. So that's about the best one I got.
Oh, wow. All right. Hot air balloon adventures. Hot air or helium? How did you make that thing float?
Well, that was part of the why it made it to the news, because the thing was about 20 feet high, 8 or 10 feet wide, made out of like a real thin 1 mil plastic, and we used to hang a pie tin under it and fill it up with that sterno stuff to keep your food warm and stuff. We'd buy a couple cans of that, empty that gel out into the pie tin and light it up and get the hot air in it from our campfire, and then the sterno would keep it hot. And on a cool night, that sucker would take off, man. We put a couple of glow sticks on that thing, and people were reporting it, saying it was shooting at their dog, fireballs were coming out of the sky. It was pretty funny till we saw it on the news the next day, and then that got kind of scary.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, that reminds me of another story of my youth. I used to hang out with this farm kid, Greg Lamont. And I recall one time we were in his dad's shop, this big building full of huge farm implements and tractors and whatnot. And he was filling garbage bags, big plastic 55-gallon garbage bags with gas from the acetylene torch. He would, turn it on and light it and adjust the flame, and then he would knock the flame out, and then he would use that gas to fill these garbage bags. And we filled probably 4 or 5 of them with that mix of oxygen and acetylene. And then he took some baling twine that had been soaking in kerosene, and he would tie those bags shut with it and light that baling twine on fire and let those bags just drift across the field. And man, what a boom those things made. And I look back now and think about those things could have gone off from a static electricity charge. A plastic bag full of explosive gas, they could have gone boom at any moment. Stupid stuff that we did when we were kids. But we quit doing it because he set one of those things off, and it made such a big boom. It broke windows all around the property, in the house and in the barns, and so that was the end of the fun for that. But very, very impressive small explosions out of those garbage bags filled with acetylene and oxygen. So we didn't really try to fly them anywhere. We just wanted to make them go boom. What about damage at your place? I forgot to ask Tim about that. I'm going to come back to you here in just a moment, Tim. But what kind of damage did you sustain from the storm, or did you make it through unscathed?
You speaking to me now, Justin?
Well, since you're on the air, yeah, let's go ahead, Tim. I forgot to ask you. We'll come back to Bobby and his Zello delays in just one moment. But go ahead, Tim, and tell us what the weather was like down there. How was the storm, and did you have any damage?
We didn't get any damage where I live here in Stockbridge. Had pretty heavy rain, but I didn't even hear the wind blow at all last night. But every once in a while, I'd hear like a twig or something bump, come across my roof. And there was quite a few twigs and one big 1 inch or about 8 feet long that had hit my roof, come off of a pecan tree behind my house back there. And
that's nuts.
But just debris and stuff everywhere. But I heard my microwave beep about twice throughout the night, which it does when the power goes off and comes back on real quick. But evidently, the power always just blinked and went off and came back on. So down here, relatively minimal damage. I don't know anybody, close by here that lost power or anything. Seemed like all y'all guys up there on the north side got all the worst of the storm there, Roger.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like it must have been really intense up there on the hilltops in the North Georgia mountains too. So it sounds like there's a lot of damage up there, and there's still a lot of power out. But even right there in Atlanta at Druid Hills, power is out in Atlanta 26's neighborhood. He was planning on net control this evening, and he's instead he's dealing with no power and family issues, and probably trying to keep his stuff in the refrigerator cold. So I told him he should grill all the steaks and cook all the freezer food and hope for the best. But I don't know what he's gonna come up with. But yeah, I guess the nature of storms like this is that it may wipe out one area and hardly touch another, and we have to bend to the will of Mother Nature. Bobby, Atlanta 403. What kind of weather damage did you endure up there?
Well, now I'm losing Zello, too, so I don't know what's going on. But if you can hear me, yeah, we had a lot of trees down throughout the county, next county over to Habersham, a lot of places with power still out. I lost mine about 8:30 this morning, didn't get it back till right around supper time, right around 5. So it was pretty bad. It was not as bad as Irma was a couple of years ago. But, because I had no power for 10 days, but it was pretty bad. A lot of trees down around. I didn't take too many trips around town because they had a lot of roads closed up here and all, so. But power lines, trees down, and a lot of local flooding out by the Chattahoochee, out in Helen and stuff, so it was pretty bad.
Copy that. Well, that's, I guess that's something to consider too, is that we do have a lot of people with power off, and hopefully it won't be for 9 or 10 days, but it could be, because it's such a widespread area of damage. And I think I heard on the news that there are 2 million people with power off throughout, so it wasn't just North Georgia that got hit, but yeah, it's hopefully we're done with these big storms for a while. I don't know. There's just no way to tell. So, all right, Bobby. Well, that brings me next to our Chattanooga check-ins. We had Chattanooga 5-8 Bill from Chattanooga checking in and out with us tonight. Thank you, Bill, for that. And at the end of our list, we have Chattanooga 5-5 Doug from Chattanooga, also in and out. So that's the end of our log at this point. So do we have any late check-ins? Anyone wishing to check in from the North Georgia GMRS net, please call net control now.
Atlanta 172, WRHW 610, Greg Freeman, late check-in.
This is Unit 29. Marty in Tyrone, also a late check-in, but I got to hear most everything there. Was on another net tonight, net back-to-back, back-to-net back groups.
Okay, net control will acknowledge Atlanta 172, Greg in Bremen, and Noonan 29, Marty, our tail gunner of the evening in Tyrone. Let's go first to Atlanta 172, Greg in Bremen, and tell us, Greg, do you have any tales of terror or fright for the Halloween season? Yeah, Atlanta 172. Yeah, we've got you in there on the sassafras repeater. Go ahead.
I'm fine, Lord. I've tried 3 times, son. I don't know what's going on tonight, but I can't think of any good stories I could tell right now. We'd have to sit around a campfire and take a little time, over.
Well, I hear that. Yeah, that's where the inspiration comes from. And, well, we don't have a campfire going tonight, but maybe the warmth from the finals on your radio will inspire a tale. So I'll give you a minute to think about it, and I'm going to instead ask you, how did you fare from the storm, and did you have any significant damage up your way?
We had a lot of trees. About 5 right in my vicinity on the roads I live on, and I didn't get out and ride the county, but I heard a lot of trees in the roadways. As far as I know, we haven't had any injuries to amount to anything, so that's good. Front yard, I was rest assured that one last night.
Well, yeah, I copy that, and yeah, there were some trees down around here as well, and I understand there was one fatality nearby. A tree had come down on a mobile home. I don't know any of the details of that, other than we've seen that happen a couple of times since we've been here, where trees have come down on mobile homes that have led to fatalities. So that's unfortunate. And of course, it's always unfortunate when somebody is killed like that, or in any way really. But that's the only one that I'm aware of in the area. So there were trees and stuff. There was some damage in this area. And when 947 went to work, she said that there were power lines down across the roadway. They had the police there kind of blocking one lane and forcing everybody to go over it in the other lane. And then she said there was another location where the lines were somewhat down, but still high enough that you could drive under it. So, and where she works, there were some trees down on the campus, and they had to borrow our chainsaw. And sounds like they're still making use of it, with the promise of installing a new chain for me when they return it. So I'm excited about that. I love to have a new chain on my chainsaw. So, all right, Greg. Well, thank you for that information. And next we'll go to Marty and Tyrone. But, Greg, we're going to come back and see if you can come up with a story. So hang in there. Marty, do you have any tales of terror or fright you'd like to share with the group tonight?
Well, good evening, Justin and Annette. It's funny you said that, because just last night, one of these silly viral videos actually got me, and I don't fall for these things. I was sitting in the basement in my studio with the monitors kind of cranked up pretty good and stout, because I've been working on some music stuff. Didn't really consider that they were still cranked up pretty stout. This one silly video, you may or may not have seen it, but it's floating around out there. Shows some guy standing in a hallway and a little big image is behind him in the hallway, and it disappears and reappears. Then it comes running towards the camera, and then the scream and the giant, big, loud noise comes. It actually made me jump in the chair. I don't do that, but it got me. That was okay. I guess we're never immune to those things. Made me chuckle afterwards, but nonetheless, it got a jump. Made the old ticker run a little faster for at least 30 seconds. I'm pretty sure of that. So I also got a good laugh out of it, nonetheless. But looking forward to Halloween. Expect a lot of trick-or-treaters. I'm pretty sure that's true for most of us. With that said, I'll turn it back to Ned. Don't have much more to add down here from Unit 29.
Yeah, all right. Well, fantastic. Yeah, I could imagine with the monitors cranked up and that little extra volume added to that imagery could rattle you a little more than just the image itself. But I tell you, most of the time that I've been startled by that sort of thing, it's not been because it was loud. It was because it wasn't expecting, the scene that occurred. So. What about storm issues, Marty? Do you have any issues down there, or are you guys pretty much in the clear?
Fortunately, on this path, we did quite well. Just a few small branches and a pile of leaves. I think I got to dig myself out from under the leaves. Other than that, it was pretty minimal amount of tree damage. From what I can see here in Tyrone, anyway, we're lucky in a sense that we are heavily covered with trees, and it tend to be good windbreaks. And I think that's probably one of the things that works in our advantage where we're at here. When the wind has a chance to get spun up on some open area, then when it does hit the edges of that open area, it's always a lot more accelerated. I didn't notice anything other than some pretty strong huffy winds in the middle of the night, and I heard a couple branches. My scarecrows for Halloween have fallen over. The sticks in their butt failed, but other than that, we're okay.
Scarecrows just weren't up to the task this time around. Well, I guess that's something you'll have to tend to. All right, Marty, well, thank you for that. And I guess digging out is something that we're all doing. Some of us are doing it a little more intensely than others, but yeah, clean up after the storm seems to be the universal for everyone. For me, it was mostly leaves and twigs, but for others, it involved real labor. So glad that you didn't have to do any of that L stuff. All right, Greg, did you have a chance to come up with anything, or are you still drawing a blank? Atlanta 172, the floor is yours.
Long story, but it's short. Me and a group of fellows many years ago when we were young, I used to go on the woods for like 4 to 5 days. Somebody drop us off. Phones, none of that stuff back then. One night we were in all quiet and fixing to go to sleep, and we heard something walking through the woods. It wasn't a man. We were too far out. Got out. It spooked us. Only thing I can think it might have been a
Might have been a Bigfoot. Well, yeah, scary noises in the night when you're camping in the woods. That's definitely one of the things that can bring fright to us all. So, well, thank you for that, Greg. That was a great story, and glad you were able to share that with us this evening. This is the end of my list. So, do we have any late check-ins, or are we going to wrap this one up? It can go either way. So, net control standing by. All right, not hearing any additional check-ins or late comments. We'll go ahead and put a close to this one. But before we do, I'll tell my tale. When I was a kid, probably 8 or 9 years old, me and one of the neighbors were walking back from another neighbor's place, and we were out on the old county road there, and the roads were all gravel back in those days, and it was wintertime. And we're walking along, and it's a cloudy evening, and we kept seeing these lights that would just streak across the sky, and it was just crazy fast lights. And we didn't hear anything. We would have expected to have heard, an airplane engine or jet or something, but there was no noise, just this light, and just crazy fast across the sky. And my friend and I began talking about what that might be, and we didn't really have any idea what it was. It was just these crazy fast lights that we would see from time to time, and they were always going in the same direction. But we just didn't really understand what it was that we were seeing, and it was kind of frightening. And we started talking about UFOs and alien invasions, and the more we talked about that, the more I got chills, and the more nervous I became, until finally, at one point, we crested just a bit of a knoll in the roadway there, still a half a mile or so away from my folks' place, and in another quarter of a mile beyond that to his place. And we could see traffic on the roadway, and we could see the headlights corresponding with the streak of light being reflected off of the clouds. The light was bouncing off the snow-covered roadway and reflected up into the clouds, and then traveling with the cars. And all of that was just far enough away that we couldn't even hear the traffic, but we could see the headlights being reflected. And it wasn't until we were able to see both parts of the scene that it made sense to us what it was. So that was my frightening experience as a kid. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call a close to this evening's edition of the SpookNet special event net for North Georgia GMRS. And let me break for one quick moment while I find that part of the script that tells me how to close this thing. And it's right there in front of me. All right, boys and girls, this concludes the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. We had a total of 19 check-ins, including myself. Net control will now be returning the repeaters to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. Thank you for allowing me to serve as your net control this evening. Good night, everyone. This is Atlanta 946, WQIR 514. Clear. All right. Let's do that. And YouTube folks, thanks for hanging out with us this evening. And I'm going to go ahead
and good evening.
Fade the audio out.
Good and 29, WRCU.
All right. We'll mark Marty out, and there he is. He's out of here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hanging out with us. Hope you enjoyed the program tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Good night. Let's see, is it this one?